Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Devin Thomas. We're back with Unscripted. I've had a lot on my mind this week, especially in regards to Hollywood. I don't know if you guys have been watching the award shows. There's been a few. Netflix promoted the SAG Actors Guild Awards, and it was pretty cool to watch. Honestly, Netflix does a pretty quality live stream when it all goes right, and admittedly, I think this might be the first time I've seen one that went pretty much without any issue. That being said, I think it's funny. I couldn't help but notice that almost all the movies that were really raking in awards, aside from like Shogun, which I haven't personally seen, but television series, at least from a theatrical standpoint or cinematic standpoint, movies versus, television, it looked like it was all of the indies. And it made me feel good because as an indie director, I see the writing on the wall. Like, of course, indie movies are going to sweep. Hollywood's not making the type of movie that they need to be making. And well, maybe not even need, but they're not making the right movies. And I don't know what's to blame for that. Maybe it's just washed up ideas or new iterations of the same shit. But whatever it is, it feels like people were gravitating towards the indie film movement that seemed to take over Hollywood this award season. So I'm really thinking that's what I'm going to talk about today as far as point of view. It's funny. I followed Sean Baker for a long time, and he's a phenomenal director, really a DIY guy as well, which is why I think naturally when I heard about him, I was, this guy seems interesting. I've been following his career probably since Tangerine, because I remember being in LA when Tangerine came out, and everyone was, you got to see this movie. This guy fucking filmed it on an iPhone, and I thought Tangerine was cool. I thought I liked more of the novelty of the idea that it was shot on an iPhone, but despite that, I kept my ear to the ground. When he released something, I'd watch it. And I also went back to explore some of his earlier work like Starlit or even Takeout, which, has grown to become a kind of a cult classic. But besides the point, I remember Florida Project, seeing that and being like, wow, this is really fucking, he's stepping it up. He's got a famous person in his movie and yada, yada, yada. It just really, it amplified his presence and visibility. I also read a book by J.J. Murphy where he covers the production of that film. And it was very interesting to just hear, despite having taken the risk, it was a chaotic set to say the least. But anyways, besides the point, I've kind of followed him, and it's crazy somebody go from so DIY to being at the, centerpiece of Hollywood's award ceremony shows with his hit movie Anora. And I guess where I'm going with this is that Anora, a movie that's made in like the $6 million range, is the movie that's getting the most attention. We've seen $100 million movies, just like literally no awards attention, no real return on a movie like that, because people just aren't, I think people are just over maybe big budget movies, aside from a few. Like, there are always going to be hit movies and such, but I don't know. I guess I think the audience is starting to gravitate towards these type of films, which makes me feel good, like I said, as an indie director, because it's the type of movie I traditionally would try and make anyways. Even if I had a big budget, I'd probably still do something that's rooted in reality, where the core of the film is people. Anora is all about Annie, or Anora rather, from Brooklyn. She's a stripper, and she ends up, having a relationship with a guy. It's just like the idea isn't like that crazy, just even saying it. It's very, budget friendly. Then I also saw the other movie that's really sweeping is A Real Pain with Kieran Culkin, directed by Jesse Eisenberg, also featuring Jesse as the other lead actor. And what I think is funny is that movie is also probably I think it was $4 or $5 million. These movies are cheap in Hollywood in comparison to the grand scheme of like the $100 million Beetlejuice or something. And when you have a movie like A Real Pain that's sweeping not just the Golden Globes, but having Oscar attention, it makes you really think like, okay, well, once again, the little budget movie is the one that's really taking over. Maybe audiences want that. One more movie I'll mention in the same category is The Apprentice. It's a movie that was very controversial just by nature. Movie that nobody wanted to make, and somebody went out and made it on under $20 million, which in Hollywood, once again, $16 million, whatever it was they spent. It sounds like a fucking huge, unsurmountable amount of money. But in Hollywood, it's not. It's just not that much cash. And for somebody to go out and make a movie like that that's still earning Oscar noms. Every single movie I mentioned, by the way, Anora, A Real Pain, and The Apprentice, are Oscar-nominated films. They are the cheapest movies in this like contendership, per se, of films. I don't know. These movies aren't getting successful just by like marketing or like, whatever. These movies are also festival films. I know that Anora won Cannes with the Palme d'Or. The Apprentice was at Cannes as well. It did quite well there. I'm not sure if A Real Pain was at Cannes, but I know it was at Sundance last year, and it made a huge splash. I think it sold there. So I guess what I'm trying to say is indie is taking over. The audience is starting to gravitate rather towards films that are not the traditional Hollywood movie. And like that, in my opinion, is the most important thing for young filmmakers to hear, is that you don't need to go out and make Dune or Top Gun. I like those movies. I'm just saying, like, if you really want to get started, just go get started. Because even these guys, they're not doing things that are too different than you. And obviously they're great, but that brings me kind of to my next point. I feel like Hollywood has given, sure, like Jesse Eisenberg, he's been in the game a long time. He's dabbled in directing, but I think that this was his real, like, you know, he's arrived as a director per se. Sean Baker as well. He's been in the game a long time, maybe too long for them to have waited to give him a chance at something this big. And that is what I feel like Hollywood used to take more risk on younger people. Sure, there will always be younger actors and stuff, but Hollywood really hasn't been taking risk on young auteurs for a while. There has been like the Damien Chazelles, and if you want to go even further back, there's a Paul Thomas Andersons, there's a Kevin Smiths, there's the even Quentin Tarantino. Like, you know, he's a little like, wasn't older, but you know, he's right around 30, like kind of like around my age. And I don't know. I think Hollywood needs to really go back to looking for young blood talent that is hungry and has their best ideas at the top of the list or top of their stack of scripts, and saying like, hey, this is the movie that means the most to me right now. If you fund it, or even fund it for just a little bit of money, they're going to go out there and they're going to make the best work they've ever made, because it's the time they care the most. I'm not saying you get older and you don't care as much. You can become an old hand at a craft and can be very, very good. But the young blood people, the George Lucases or the Francis Ford Coppolas out there, even the Scorseses out there that just broke through at a young age, are the greatest filmmakers out there in the world. And Hollywood needs to they just need to take a look and look at the talent out there and be like, hey, who haven't we really looked at yet? Who's making the things on their own that are really, really good? And I think that's the play, because in Hollywood right now, you're giving a lot of people who they have earned their due. Absolutely. I'm not going to knock Sean Baker. He's fucking great. But I wish I could have seen Sean Baker's movie from a studio at 40 or 45, you know, or even at 35. I feel like they just waited too long to, you know, to water that flower. I'm not saying he won't go on to make something even greater than Anora or any of his previous films, but it's not a travesty, but it's almost like, damn, Hollywood, wake up and start giving people the chance they need sooner than later, because there's somebody out there they want to do it today. So yeah, I think that's a point I really, it was on my mind this week. Even just seeing like how movies in Hollywood are changing from the, you know, studio to indie perspective. It seems like low budget movies are really taking over, or at least something that's more rooted in indie. But even the actors, you know, you get somebody like Kieran Culkin, he's obviously a star, you know, he's got that classic kind of Hollywood look. Phenomenal. Great actor. Nothing bad to say about the guy. More of a kind of masculine figure, in my opinion. He's more of a bro. In the movie A Real Pain, he's a little bit more of an asshole, and I'm not saying every guy needs to be a jerk off, but I think it's important that we don't, like, you know, try and soften up all men to the point where it's like, this is so, like, the character's just unrealistic. I think the reason why this guy's winning Golden Globes and will probably win a fucking Best Supporting Actor Oscar is because he is acting human. His character is kind of a dick in the movie. He's a little conflicted. He's not a bad guy. He's just outspoken. He's not afraid to be who he is. And I think people like that. Nobody wants these like polished characters anymore where they're too perfect or their shit don't stink. It needs to be somebody who is honest. And all three of those movies I mentioned, once again, Anora, The Apprentice, and A Real Pain. Yeah, if you open up the hood, there's some dirty things on some of these movies. The characters might be a little bit more salacious. Some might be lowlives. Some might be really controversial figures, but I think that's what makes them so fucking interesting. And if you want to watch a movie where you're actually engaged and you're not just thinking like, this is kind of a script by numbers, go watch any of the three movies I just mentioned. They are the most interesting films in American cinema right now. And you'd be doing yourself a fucking favor to go out and peep these movies. On that note, I don't want to just absolutely bash studios to the point I can never get a fucking job. But I'll say this. The big blockbusters last year, I think they're like Deadpool and Wolverine, Dune. These movies rake in a ton of cash. Some of them make like $1 billion in theaters. I think like if the studios want to make those just to survive, and like those are fucking entertaining. Like I watched them. I had a great time watching them. I think do that. That's what you do best, right? But you guys have so much leverage in the game. You guys could literally, you could have the 90s all over again, where you just have a boom of indie cinema. You guys want original IP to just eat up for the next 20 or 30 years and keep building on. You want the newest thing where you can build a franchise on it. You need to start digging and looking for the new talent. It's not all about, the influencer culture and all that shit too. I understand the casting thing. Like, you want to cast people that have like a lot of followers and stuff, or have a following. I get the logic behind that. It's an honest logic. We want to put people in our films that get seen, right? But there's still this, how do I say this? Undiscovered talent. There's this pool of people out there in the world that we just haven't heard from yet. New voices, new faces. And I really think that Hollywood needs to reallocate some of their funds to that, because you guys, you could fucking have it. You guys could have the indie scene on lock. You could have cheap indie movies getting made every single day. And it's just, I think that's the play. I keep saying it, but I really think Hollywood needs to look in the mirror and say, hey, let's start finding some new voices, some new 20, 30, maybe even under 40s people that are ready to really give it the good old college try, per se, that really want to go out there and do an honest movie for an honest dollar. They're not just trying to get rich. They will make something bankable. They will make something good. Those seem to be the movies that are really flourishing right now. And I think the market dictates it. Just take a look at the award season, who's winning and what's just getting ignored. There's also films that, got made this year, like Wicked. It wasn't my favorite movie. I'm not going to bash Wicked. I think if you are a fan of that and you like plays, or you've seen Wicked, I've never seen Wicked. So when I watched the movie, it wasn't like, I can't believe they did that. It just, for me, it didn't, nothing. I thought it was well made. It's not really into musicals like that. So like, for me, it's just not my type of movie, but phenomenal. Looked like a huge success. So like, you guys can do things that are that big of a scale, continue to do that. But in the meantime, highly consider looking at these indie people. I'm not saying me, maybe, but if you really want people that are going to get it done, people like me and other indie filmmakers, they're hungry. We're ready to show you what we can do and do it for, the right price, to say the least. We're not going to go out there and just run up a big bill for the fuck of it. It's going to be because the vision's there, and the return is really going to be having something that's, honest and good. And it sounds so simple, but I really think honest and good is probably the best metric to really like base who you're going to fund next, because they got to be good. That's the most important thing. You can't just fucking give money. It's not charity. We're not giving money to people that can't make a fucking movie, but there's people that are proving their merit. And I hate to say it, like, I'm not trying to gloat. I am one of those people. I went out and made a movie, one-man crew, couple actors. Yeah, sure, there's some scenes that have more actors in it, maybe like one scene at most, like 20, 25 people. But, I went out and made a movie with no money other than my own, like out of pocket, credit card, in a vision with two other people that were right there with my vision, Stevie and Christine. And, the movie, it came out better than I could have thought. We had a ton of success with it. It's still doing extremely fucking great online. The sales are good. The streaming numbers are good. It's not stopping us from going out and making another one, but there's so many people out there like me that are making indie movies, and we're not going to stop. And it's like Sean Baker. You guys going to wait 20 years till, I'm puckered out with my best ideas behind me, or my best ideas to come? I'm not saying that the best ideas are behind me by any means. I'm saying in 20 years, we could have accomplished so much together in those 20 years if Hollywood wants to, float the bill. And I always know there's going to be a catch or something with like investors. And it's not just like, hey, look at me. But I'm saying I'm at the confidence level right now with the ability to do all of this, but I'd like to scale up. And I think Hollywood I'm not alone on this. I think Hollywood really needs to hear that. There's a lot of hungry filmmakers out there that want to scale up, a lot of hungry actors out there that want to prove themselves just as much as I do. That brings me to another point. The actors we have in Hollywood right now, I kind of talked about this a little with Kieran, but we need the next Clint Eastwood. We need the next Brad Pitt. We need the next guy. There's a few people they try to proposition, like Glenn Powell or even Miles Teller. Like, these guys are great, but we need more of them. We need to see more people like this that are the next face of Hollywood, the next person that's going to be really leading the pack as a front man. It's been a while since we've had somebody like that. We've had some great actors come along, but I think Hollywood's waiting for its next star. And who that'll be, I'm not sure, but like I said, I think it comes from like sifting through the talent pool again, and I don't think Hollywood's sifting through it like they used to. I think Hollywood's a little lost right now. I mean, I saw a fucking ad for the Oscars, and it said like, hey, in case you forgot, the Oscars are this week. And it's like, the Oscars used to be kind of like, everyone knew it was coming. It was just an event that like, you didn't even fucking need to question it. You're like, oh, the Oscars? Yeah, I know it's coming up. It was advertised well. People knew it was the biggest event. If you hadn't watched a movie all fucking year and the Oscars rolled around, that's when you're going to look at the list and be like, I guess I'm going to watch these movies, because those are the ones that everyone is seeing. Those are the top of the list, the best movies that are out there right now to see. So, yeah, it seems like that maybe is like not holding its power that it used to hold in years past. And I like, once again, I'm not trying to bash Hollywood. I'm just saying like, damn, like Hollywood could be great again. And it just needs some young blood to get in there and just breathe new life into it. In the old hands and the old directors, they're locked in. They know what they're doing. They make great movies. They're fucking phenomenal. They're going to be around. I'm not saying like we need to, out with the old, in with the new. I like the old. I think there's a lot of young voices that just want to be heard, and they want to show the world what they can do. And let's not wait 20 years to let them fucking show everyone what they can do. Now is the time, as they say. And I'm not a complainer. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to prove myself over and over again. I'm making at least one movie a year. That's my goal, to make at least one film a year that's really fucking great. And if I can't make one movie a year, I'm going to make... No, I will make one movie a year. It's not if I can't. If I can, I will make more than one movie a year. I have multiple scripts lined up. I'm ready to fucking go. My next movie starts shooting in like a week. It's not a question of if I'm going to do it. I will be doing it. So if you guys want to join the party, I'm here either fucking way. Whew. Yeah, that was a hell of a rant, but I really feel like I need to get that out. Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall, and if you're out there, Hollywood, and you can hear me, yeah, you've heard the message. It's been delivered. Anyways, guys, that's all I've got. It's Saturday night. I'm going to go and fucking chill. I'll be back with another one of these. This one came out a little late this week. I was just busy. I had a lot of shit going on, and we've been working hard on Feel It All Around. Really got the first half of the movie pretty much locked in. I'm doing a little bit of script polishing, a couple touches here and there, but at this point it's really dialogue and just making sure it sounds organic. And I'll get more into, like, I know people have been asking as well. I'm going to get more into actually talking about like process or filmmaking. I think that's what people really want to hear on this pod anyways. And I kind of been just rambling and ranting and kind of getting my thoughts out. But yeah, I'm going to definitely get a little bit more industry centric, or maybe even just creative process centric. So be on the lookout for that. And yeah, like I said, that's about all I got. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for joining me. This is Devin Thomas with another episode of Unscripted.